I didn't reinterpret Wealth. I read it all the way through for the first time.
Well, sure. So we're now doing it based on your current interpretation. And you said respend the points I'd spent on wealth,
Yeah.
and I spent a lot on wealth. So I now have a force shield instead of wealth.
Yep.
Sure.
I never knew that when I thought of upkeep, I thought of upkeep as keeping track of bits and bobs,
Yep.
not a roll to see which way your wealth goes game wise, and that becomes a playable thing, and that's a completely different thing. And when I read it through, then I realized that the reason they don't allow you to roll on wealth is it'll break the game.
So we can play it that way. And the reason I never did is it feels too much like the one thing I really hate about fast rep is nothing you ever do will change things. Right? Everything is stuck in neutral. It doesn't matter if you show up to save the day, the bad guys won't actually kill anyone. And you can never become, well, I mean, what's the great criticism of Batman, right? You're a billionaire, so why are you out punching people in an alley?
Because he's psychotic. He's a crazy person with incredible power.
And honestly, if they presented him like that, he would actually be a very interesting character. And a couple of people have. To their credit, a couple of people said, this motherfucker is fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
He's doing good, but that's actually a side effect.
Yeah, that's a side effect of something much larger here.
Right.
Now,
And honestly, I like that interpretation of Batman because it makes him a very flawed hero. But
Mark
that's not what
Millar's
they do.
version,
They
yeah.
usually do God mode Batman.
Yep.
Thank you. That was
and
killing
Mike,
me.
Mike, your concern is about what I think a really small thing because we're talking about a roll
Mhm.
once a month,
Yeah.
and you've been in the game world 10 days.
Yeah, but we've been playing this game for months and months.
Oh no, I agree. We may never get to a wealth roll, is what I'm
Mhm.
saying.
Sure.
Our lives may change. The game may come to an end before we even have to make a wealth roll. So we are just stuck. And the other point I'd like to make is
Yeah.
every time that I've relied on the rules as written,
Yep.
they haven't failed me.
Oh, agreed, agreed. And I'm not. We can absolutely do this, but part of the concept I had in mind for the character, because we've done a lot of high concept literature in our character design here,
Mm-hmm.
is that was her shtick, right? She was building her way out of that. And I can work
Explain
on
what
that.
you did. High character concept literature.
We have been playing our characters
Could you
very much.
explain that
Of course, yes.
for the crowd,
We,
since we got time today?
sure. We've been playing the characters very much like a book. In 1978, I saw the first version of the article that said games are games and books are books and never the two shall cross. And that your elf at D&D was never going to be your elf in Lord of the Rings. I
Mm-hmm.
think that we are playing these characters so full blown and so large. They have goals and they have dreams, and they don't just show up to fight and burn things down. They're
Agreed.
fully developed people.
Yep.
And I like how Metal has not turned out to be quite what I was thinking she was. I
Mm-hmm.
like how her partnership with Bug has worked out, definitely not to what I was planning.
Mm-hmm.
And what makes sense for her, or what was the thought on her, was she was working her way up to how much can I be the most altruistic version of Bruce Wayne during the day and then go beat people up at night? How much can I, put up a Stark Tech and hire all of these people and give them jobs, right? Because there's a couple of versions of Tony that are like that as well. And that was what I was building towards. But if we can do things plot wise, that'll allow me to that cute little bit I threw in the MeWe chat, intimidate some mobs, build 2 casinos, all of this. I'm completely cool with doing it in the high concept of the storyline. But if I can't make Metal be someone who's building her wealth to build her influence, I just have to change how I'm playing the character. Because
Yep.
she's always been about building that.
I
And I
mean,
can't. Yep.
have you? Because we've gone on two different timelines. Has the Russian American Friendship Society made an appearance yet?
It has a couple odd times when they fixed the glass. There's a couple of times I've done things for the people that live at Bugs Building
No, but in our first timeline and not our
in
second.
our main chronology. Yeah. Um, barely, but
Barely,
yeah.
but they're there. So there's an example of one that I can think of.
Well, sure, and totally willing to go that route. Matter of fact, I might have I might have been playing around in my graphics tool with that in mind.
No
And
kidding.
oh, guys, I have to make graphics for boring stuff. You guys don't want to hear about XDR, but I get to take all of my skills I get learning graphics stuff
Mm-hmm.
and play around with it, right?
Presentation, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, there's some stuff I'd love to do in character, but it's also going to be very much the antithesis of that fast rep thing, right? Of I want to actually have the city be different on Wednesday morning, not just the illusion of different, not just I punched out Doc Ock. I want to make Capital City better, and I think that I can.
Okay. Okay.
Andy,
You actually brought up. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say another thing that we may never get to at the pace that this game goes to. Just kidding. Andy, go ahead.
Yeah, that was actually. We were asked, not this time, but not last time, but the time before that, what we would change about the game.
Yep.
And honestly, if I had to put something, the fact that we've only had 10 days is that thing. Nothing grows or nothing has a chance to grow or develop. Everything is just coming at you all the time, always.
Yep.
it has been an intensely action-packed, 10 months? It's been almost a year we've been running this game.
Yes, we've been playing for a year. We've covered, and I'm guessing it's either on one side. 10 I'm using as an over under. I don't know exactly. Could it be
Right, it's
14?
probably 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, so we're getting on to 21 days.
That's
14
what if I went back and count how things had to have happened, I think it's closer to 2 to 3 weeks rather than just 10 days.
Mm-hmm. The pace is intentional.
Okay.
That was a conscious decision when I started the game that if this game was going to be like a comic book, things needs to happen as it's got to be interesting. I looked at it if someone was reading it, right?
Yeah, but then I mean that's fine, but then that completely goes against what you're trying to do, Metal. Everything you want to do takes months best. Like the like even putting together the Friends of Russian Society or whatever you want to call it would take weeks.
So like that, Andy, you're correct. That is my idea of what the Russian Friendship Society is actually Metal just getting on the phone and calling the glass people, or this is just direct action, direct action. Credit
there's
card.
no real society.
There's Metal making calls, and every time she does it, it's like, who's it from? Russian Friendship Society.
Yeah.
But then again, the flip side of that is our growth then is phenomenal. For 3 weeks, I am almost twice as powerful as I was 3 weeks ago.
You're also much more sure of your character than you were. Well, I guess a year ago. That doesn't equate. Sorry.
That is true.
That doesn't.
It's cool, but it's definitely one way to do it.
My answer to it is I was hoping is that you guys would fight your way out of it.
Fight our way out of what exactly?
Yeah.
The pace. That you would take control over your lives, your characters' lives to a certain degree, that you're controlling the pace. It comes at your pace and not the pace that Capital City is throwing at you because it wants to eat your face off.
So I can do that, but I'm going to change your game forever.
Well, the problem with that is whenever we try to do that, Capital City eats our face.
It's a big place. I don't even know how many people there are. Yeah. So where's the balance? No. Where's the teeter-totter? Where
No,
do we?
in fairness, it's your game. If you want to run it at that pace, then that's the pace we're going at. It's just that that pace does mean that things like uh, Metal buying us new headquarters completely off the table. Just can't happen.
Because seriously, there would never the insurance company would never get to settling on the Baltimore. And we can play this so the whole
We
thing
got to
happens.
we got to retcon that.
Why? You burn the place down.
It's not burnt. It's not burnt down. It
So
didn't burn down because in the future it's standing there, and that's where your adventure arc begins,
capital
Mike.
point. Yeah.
Capital Point Casino begins pretty
Yeah.
much at the Baltimore. So
I honestly think we should ignore that bit
Yeah.
of
okay.
as a writer who made a little flub, because the fact that it's the Baltimore doesn't matter that much.
Okay.
It could literally be any place Bug was, and then I don't want Mike's stuff to ruin your stuff. I mean,
Right.
no offense to
Right.
you, Mike,
No,
but that
beautiful.
the
Beautiful.
whole point was to give you a break, not to put you in shackles.
So Jay, I
Oh,
didn't realize you
I
were
don't mind
playing at that
finding that,
pace.
but that's play for me. For me, that's play,
So
right?
I didn't realize you were playing everything in the tight schedule when I put Capital Point Casino in. I thought there'd be a couple of weeks, not 15 minutes between your adventure segments. So I tried to put Capital Point Casino, later in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize we'd be stepping back in time because, yeah, I did some stuff that could be the whole White Lotus gang, the Laotians and all of that. That could be
Mm-hmm.
big changes or not. So I'm completely with Andy that it's your game. We'll run however you feel like it. And we can change the pace of it, even with Capital City doing the face eating. But that just turns into your. Seriously, you know what it turns into? And you can laugh. I was watching Spider-Verse last night because
Mm-hmm.
my wife's favorite of the Marvel movies is Spider-Verse.
Is
With
that
great. Oh, yeah.
an animated thing?
It is.
Okay.
It is the finest animated film. It is. There's a major throwout sequence where 5 Spider-Verse characters, including Peter Porker, the fabulous Spider-Ham, are fighting 5
see.
villains, and they all have their own art style. It is gorgeous. It is visually spectacular. Totally worth watching.
Okay.
The favorite part of that scene for me was actually when Doc Ock shows up and May goes, "Live." I'm like, oh, dude, because earlier Doc Ock said, "My friends call me Liv."
Live.
Yep.
It's a female Doc Ock, and honestly, she is delightfully terrifying.
She is. My favorite part is the Scorpion is this giant guy that speaks in Spanish with this blocky art style, and he's beating the hell out of Penny Parker's Spider-Man robot from the future, and you're cheering as Spider-Ham drops an anvil on his head.
Spider Ham takes me
it's a-
back.
Oh yeah, it's a Miles Morales tale, and it's excellent. But
Sounds
some of
it.
the art is just awesome.
Oh, this is. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So where I was going with that was it made me think about with great power comes great responsibility, and I can't see Metal and Bug being okay with letting the Russians do what they're gonna do, and they would need to change the way they're operating. And this is part of the conversation I want to have with Bug. I don't want to give too much away, but we're causing the Russians to burn people's houses down, which means we either need to step up and deal with the Russians in a big way, or leave the people alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't see Bug and Metal just leaving people to their devices.
Hell no. Hell no. Hell no.
Yeah, which means we have to deal with the Russians in scale.
Yep.
Which I'm fine with. But this also tends to expand the scope of the scale. Right? It tends to make it not, and then 15 minutes later, this happened.
See, what it does do, to your point, Jay, is that it flips us into being massively more proactive. That you want us to change the scale. That's how we change the scale. Metal drops me off at a pick a Russian spot. Doesn't even really matter. Any Russian mob spot, and I tear the shit up until they chase me off. And then he takes me to a new one, drops me off, and then I tear the shit up till he takes me to a new one. And then he takes me to, basically, I force them into peace by making it too expensive to wage war on us. You know, you send one of us to the hospital, we send one of yours to the morgue. Bug won't kill them, but they don't care about death. What they care about is fucking money.
Oh
I
yeah,
break their shit, they'll back off.
sure.
So honestly,
He's the stick,
that's
I'm the carrot.
the argument to make.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
then they'll start
not
just
the-
dealing directly with you.
I got a plan for that.
Even if they do that, I can. The problem is the two of us are almost shadows. We don't exist in any way that that the society cares about. The Russian mobsters, they have facades. They have these complicated, going to the Ritz to make their deals and respected businessman fronts to launder money. I'm a fucking homeless guy with a shotgun.
Well, you're a homeless guy with incredible weird powers.
Right. I was making a joke.
Uh huh. But that's
There's a movie called Hobo with a Shotgun, and that was what I was.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they can't take shit away from me. I have no shit. I can come at them from any angle, and I blend into them because I'm one of the nameless masses.
Mm-hmm.
What society thinks of
that's going to cause the price of making your efforts to change the city very minimal to a degree. That's a hurdle that you got to get over. Being a homeless person doesn't have much clout in today's society.
That's a long-term problem. My short-term problem is the Russians keep fucking shit up.
This makes us the best Power Man and Iron Fist combo. That
it's really shaped up to Power Fist and Iron Man. If I said that right, but yeah,
it's all right. You said it backwards. It's fine. That
they're great. They're great. Luke Cage and
Danny Rand.
They're awesome. They're awesome.
I do love it, and I love their friendship, and I just love the.
So because Bug is invisible and can disappear and go eat at a soup kitchen in Poughkeepsie for 3 weeks, and you don't know what happened to him.
But you guys haven't taken that action. You haven't taken 3 weeks off.
Because we can't take 3 weeks off, because every time we take any time off, shit blows up.
So I'm ready to do that now.
That's exactly my point.
So how do we transition?
Go at our own pace, except for we can't. Because the moment we try to go at our own pace, if we try to sit down and let's plan this out, let's do this, something blows up.
So now, don't you see my problem with champions?
I don't see how that's a champions problem. That's a narrative.
No,
problem.
I don't. Connect that for me.
For me with champions, because combat takes so long.
Okay.
Well, combat is a hurdle in champions. I won't lie.
So even at this pace, we've only been 3 days if we were playing champions in the way that I'm trying. I guess I'm trying to play the game.
It depends on how often you have fights. You don't have to have a fight every time. We don't have fights every time.
That's true. That's true.
Megs is a much nicer system, but we could be playing top secret. It would be the same idea. Or we could be playing Game Over.
Be careful bad-mouthing champions, man. Just be careful.
I have never played champions, so whatever you guys tell me, I believe you.
I give it props, and we've already had this discussion, Andy, that if we were going to play champions and we had a whole thing set up, like a block where we were going to fight, and everyone was going to get together, and we were going to battle the kaiju, all afternoon.
Jay,
I'm down. I'm so down. It's insane.
I'm also not disagreeing with you. Okay, it completely combat is long in champions.
Okay. So if we could just table that as I believe you.
How do we transition? How do we transition to your guys' ideal? Because I'll play with anything, pretty much.
I would like to start game time, and I would like to start by inviting Bug to lunch. And I have a plan that may or may not work.
Andy seems excited about that.
No, because Bug is now socially acceptable.
And can now.
I spent all my XPs. I did the. If you look back in the MeWe stuff, I spent all my XPs. I bought off my bizarre appearance because the bugs no longer crawl over me, and I made my animal mimicry invisible. Well, subtle, I think, is the term that they use. So when I actually invoke it, there's no obvious change in me.
Yeah.
The end. I know it's not super important, but now I'm a scholar of combat. Put them up.
So, how does that make you a scholar of combat?
It doesn't. It's
Okay.
just because remember we talked about that I wanted to be better at combat, but I didn't want to buy up my decks, and the
Yes.
only
Oh,
way to do that, so I bought up scholar parentheses combat and parentheses so I get the 2 shifts in combat.
I don't
okay.
know if you guys.
Okay. And that's doing it. And if is yeah. And I think that's an example of how I said so far the rules haven't failed me when I've
Oh,
actually
so
looked at the rule when I've had to use it.
so for this team, Megs has never failed me because these guys are enjoying a story. I've Metal's resistance has gone up, so her magnetic pulse sonar has gotten to be pretty considerable. I have a force shield of 2, which is going to be relatively cheap to raise, but I've always had to play her kind of as a glass cannon. Her resistance has gone to 7, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So, and that's something that's going to be relatively easy to bring up so that she's not trying to hide behind Andy, right?
So it
Also,
stacks.
I liked that. I admit though that makes my character feel a little badass. I won't lie, but fair enough.
So force shield stacks. It doesn't
Stacks,
replace. It doesn't
correct.
It's like skin
replace.
armor.
Cool. So yeah, that'll actually that'll keep things that are flying at your head not hitting your head.
And and I do like that you're still lower than Bug is, even without using his powers. Bug starts with a body of 8 before he even does anything, and then he does things to make that higher.
But so I was a Claremont era X-Men boy, and you would watch Peter come in, Peter Rasputin, sorry, and like throw a desk, and Peter was like 6'5" and a wall of muscle before he turned his powers on, right? And then someone would say, armor up, and suddenly he's not throwing a desk, he's throwing a tractor combine. You reminded me, Cyborg, the analogy is really solid, but you just so remind me of Peter of everybody get behind me, it's a flamethrower.
Yep. Yep. I even drew a picture of that. That's with his arms out when you're catching the car. That was one
Well,
of the
yeah, and
first
that's
action photos of Bug I did.
right, because that's honestly what Bug would rather protect people than fight people. If given a choice between saving lives or punching people, he will save lives every time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. I thought that was moving at a great pace. That was pretty pandemonium. So did we leave off where, I mean, because we could start doing this. We left off, as far as I remember, like basically standing on the sidewalk of Town and Campus Bookstore at
We
the end of a.
chased off the insect maniac, who turned
The
out to be.
chase off is strong,
It was a
but
standoff.
no,
He
Mexican
couldn't have kept the
standoff.
pace. He couldn't have
no.
kept the pace.
In fair, no, we would have won that, but we would have won that at too high of a
Uh
cost.
huh.
Yes.
Yep.
There is no way we would not have put that guy down.
Nope.
But he was smart enough to go after the shit we care about than go after us. Because if he goes after me, I am willing to go down to the death fighting myself.
Nope.
If I'm the
I
target,
wasn't willing to do it in a bookstore full of old ladies to listen to a walk and talk,
Mm-hmm.
right?
right? No,
Yep.
and I honestly that was well done, but it's also indicative of my Russian plan.
Which is.
That because what we did was we made the fight too expensive and he withdrew. What my Russian plan is to do that on a citywide scale. We make it big enough, expensive enough that they can't maintain combat with us, or that they lose too much money maintaining combat with us.
I might have a wrinkle on that that makes your plan even just a little more delicious because I love your plan.
Because we can find out where they're doing shit. I mean, a smuggling operation, I'm willing to show up and smash shit.
Well, they've lost what they were smuggling.
They can't have only been a one. If they are, then we've already won because then they're not making any money.
Mm-hmm.
Or they did say they still had some stockpiles and they're going through those stockpiles. If we just hit those stockpiles, we end them.
Yeah.
But my thing is we can't end the Russian mob. You cannot end organized crime because it's not built that way. But what you can do
Because
is you can make it
it's like systemic racism. It's just built into the fabric of the society.
kind of it is.
But you can elect a black president, and you can
Yeah, you
you
can.
can
Good
force
point.
them to operate by your rules. If you're powerful enough,
Yeah, we don't need to be 1920 Chicago. Okay, that's the problem. Is right now we are.
Well, you've run into the the basis for um, Avengers Civil War. No?
Right, we have. But honestly, you set it up post Civil War, in my opinion.
Civil War was the everybody with
Explain.
superpowers
Explain
need
a
to be
little bit. I think
changed.
I know what you mean, but explain that if you wouldn't
The
mind.
whole idea behind Civil War was that uh, superheroes were largely unregulated. Civil War was all about regulating the superheroes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you
That's
are already post that. We
yeah,
are regulated.
yeah.
We're fucking outlaws because we're not regulating.
That is correct. Got it. Okay,
I
just
would
So
making
agree
sure
we
with
that
are
Amanda
post
Waller.
Civil War.
we are on the same page then.
Yep. I would have
No, and
used
there's
Amanda
nothing wrong
Waller
with
to
that.
run your episode. Sorry, go ahead.
What I love about Civil War, and though they did a really bad job of this in the comic, in my opinion, that I can see so much both sides of that argument because it's a decent argument. Because you're like, yeah, this is a complex issue, except for they said Iron Man was right. The comic book always sided with Iron Man every chance they got.
It got it's the Second Amendment argument in today's society.
I think it's the gay marriage argument. I think it's not about. Well, hang on. Give me a second on this one.
I can
How
see
many
it.
people die because of gay marriage? Okay, I want to hear this argument.
No, but it's a fear fictional in people's heads. That
So
that's
I'm
feeling,
sitting with some friends of mine, and Andy, I love that you call yourself a big old lefty. I live in a college town. My friends are math professors. I am about as left leaning as you could be without falling over.
I would high five you if it weren't over.
We're currently
Then
in the
it's
middle of commencing legal action against a school district for not following up on sexual harassment complaints. Because this is what my wife and I are doing. I am a giant lefty, okay? That if I'm sitting with some friends of mine and we're all like drinking a craft beer and we're like, hey, if gay marriage, should it be legal? And she's like, no, because you don't know how far it's going to go. I'm like, well, what if you could decide? And she's like, well, what if people want to marry their pets? And I'm like, but we're not talking about that.
people
And
don't want to
Anne-
do that.
Well, but Anne is a total giant human rights person, but she was afraid. And I said, no, Anne, it's not like an arbitrary panel is going to decide. In my example, you decide, right? You right now decide what's legal and what isn't. And she couldn't do it. This isn't about a generic superhero ballot. This is about, do Bug and Metal have great responsibility to come with their great power, or does that responsibility sit on somebody else's shelf,
Well,
somebody else's desk?
that question is already answered. You feel it falls squarely on the character's shoulder.
Oh,
That
Would you?
only they can do it, or they just can't sit on the sidelines. Even if they can't change anything, we're doing it anyways.
yeah, Bug has made that call over and over and over again without
So
even flinching.
it's an existential point of view.
It is.
No,
You know,
see,
there's no such thing as God, but I'm going to act as if there is.
there is a
Pascal's wager.
well,
Yeah,
no, 'cause that has
that's-
a lot of extra baggage in it.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah, it doesn't
but
work.
honestly,
It doesn't work.
why it's not gay marriage is because,
Logical
well,
fact.
one, the slippery slope argument for anything is ludicrous.
Yeah, it's assuming a foregone conclusion. For
And
one, which
quite
is
frankly,
fucking ridiculous.
you don't make gay marriage legal. What you do is you make marriage to anybody you want to marry legal, and then you make marrying animals illegal.
Boom.
Well, no, because you don't make activities legal. You make activities illegal. That's ludicrous to.
Lose a whole day on really easy.
Well,
The
we're
point
missing
I
a
was
character today, so
The point I was trying to make was, I said, no, Anne, you have the power to decide. And she was a big old lefty, because I love your term, is and she did not step up to the power. She did not take the responsibility of power to use the
more valid because people with powers are fucking dangerous. Bug is got
terrifying.
yeah, but Bug is also the one with the cleanest hands in this entire game.
Mm-hmm.
Bug goes out of his way not to hurt people, and even further out of his way not to kill people.
Well, Parker said he had his first kill the other game, but that's like at least his second.
Yeah,
Well,
but see, that's the point. Is that but Bug is arguably the single most powerful member of the team, but the least bloodthirsty of the team. Bloodthirsty is a strong term because Bug's willing to kill. It just hasn't come up. Bug is always, but power also gives you that flex. Bug has more options than almost everybody in the team, so he's got ways out. But my point is that if you are going to regulate anybody on this team, you regulate the fuck out of Bug because Bug is dangerous. Bug can do everything from bring down buildings to literally unleash swarms of poisonous insects on society. And those are parlor tricks for Bug. So wanting to regulate him, I get it. But then the other side is you're regulating his self. Bug cannot not be that person.
But Bug is the guy who should be making the moral decisions. He's not the guy who should be regulated. He should be the one doing the regulations because you don't want Metal making those decisions.
Well, that's honestly why I like the team because Metal's like Bug, like, no, you shouldn't. Fine.
Yeah. Well,
Metal goes too far.
That's the first.
And I do like. Sorry, I still like the phone call. Now apologize.
That was good. That was an excellent role play out of that complication.
No, so I see what you're saying about the responsibility, but I also don't think it's very. I see where it is somewhat semi-analogous, but it also isn't.
Are you saying semi-analogous?
Yes, I just
Okay.
I tripped over my tongue.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure the chance of you guys using words I've never heard is relatively high. I look things up after our conversations.
But because you are right that by making the government in charge of it, you absolve yourself of that sin, so to speak.
Yeah.
But that being said,
you have someone else take out
gay marriage doesn't kill people.
No. Some of your fights have any of your
I
fights
would
killed people?
argue regulating against gay marriage kills people, but that's a different argument.
Yeah, that's mental health.
Oh, that's like oh.
I think
my big fat lefty point here that whole argument that, well, gay people are mentally unhealthy. Yeah, because you fucking made them that way, you assholes.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep. You stick an animal in a corner and poke it with sticks long enough, it's just gonna go fucking mad.
Yep. You're not wrong. I was making a different analogy, but one last thought before we commence, if you like, is I think the reason that Parker has such a high body count is he's trying to play his golden age morality or his golden age character in your Iron Age game because he could create a tornado and then a guy falls to the street and spatters like a tomato.
Yeah, right? I think you guys did. Shit. I think you did him dirty that way. If I'm being completely honest, I think you should have taken Parker aside earlier and said, "Yeah, you're playing more of a Silver Agey type hero, and this isn't that kind of game." And so when you did it, I honestly felt you kind of did him dirty. I'm sorry, but I feel that.
I love what
in the last fight. In the last fight, you mean?
No, in I'm actually more mad at Mike for that because
what did Mike do?
You sprung it on him. And what if he didn't want to play that kind of game? That was a little bit of a dick move, in my opinion.
You see, now I put him in a tough moral spot, which I think is the most fun part of the game.
You put him in but you did it without kind of making sure, because he obviously wasn't playing that kind of game up until that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's without saying, yeah, there's going to be bloodshed and death. Are you okay with that? You just kind of said you either let people die or you murder people.
There's 3 or 4 ways you could have superpowered your way out of it, and he didn't investigate any of them. He could have been smart about it and didn't.
No, you actually blatantly said to him, you have to either kill these guys or they kill these women. You blatantly said that to him, and now weaseling out of that is the same level of bullshit as that I was bitching at your characters for saying, well, you could have. No, he couldn't have, because you said you either kill these guys or they kill these girls. And
I
so
made it
he did.
difficult. I made it difficult. Yes, I
No,
did.
you didn't make it difficult. You gave him an either or choice and he picked one.
Well,
Now, admittedly,
yep,
his game mechanic knowledge
yep,
screwed him,
yep.
but then again, in my opinion, as the game master, you should have pointed that out. You should have said you can take penalties here and just do stunning damage and not kill them, because that's a game mechanic you could employ. He didn't know about it. He didn't use it. And so I'm sorry,
Mm-hmm.
but you
It's
trying to
okay.
weasel out about it now is
Not weaseling at
you.
all, because I completely agree that before the point where I announced that there was other things he could have done. There's things with a super speed of 9 he could have done before that decision point. You're absolutely right. I put him in that position. Completely with you.
Mm-hmm. Well, on the game master's defense, and that mean that for both Mike and I who've been taking that role, I didn't know about some of those things and those subtleties and those ways that the game was built to handle that until Parker started having that kind of problem. And I started looking at, well, what do the rules say about that? Why is it? And then I found desperation recovery. I found more different ways that you can
Pulling
spend
your punch.
pulling your punch.
And
I'm
Mike
not
should
going to.
have mentioned pulling the punch in that
Don't always put it
situation.
on him, though. He's not the walking.
It's
No,
okay.
I am putting it on him
Okay.
because I think he ambushed a friend of mine, and I think it was a dick move.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
sorry, but I
agreed.
do.
So, with respect, I did ambush him. I don't think it was a dick move because I think it made for great storytelling. I think he enjoyed the story, even though he was not playing what he intended to play. I think it was a great turning point for him, and he seems to have enjoyed it because I didn't put him in a tough place for the player because I wouldn't do anything to make it hard on Parker. I made it hard on Warren.
Yeah, but he wanted to play a shining beacon, and you made him not play the character he wanted to play.
Agreed.
Well, we should ask him.
I have. He's my friend. I talked to him.
Oh, and
You're
that's
right.
exactly what he said. This is his point of view.
Okay, fair enough.
Oh,
Now
oh.
that he's rolling with it because it's the game, but I honestly think that was a miserable session for him because he wanted to be this happy, fun character, and you made it so he wasn't a happy, fun character. To play a happy, fun character at this point
Yep.
would be disingenuous as a human being.
So you're right that the massacre at Capitol Point that got the all of the music set to it and all that was definitely the height of it. But he'd had a bunch of that kind of thing. That was the biggest piece. Like the last battle where he was fighting the meth heads at the FBEE office,
Mm-hmm.
he also dropped someone in their head.
Right, because at that point he doesn't care. Because his character's already not that character anymore.
As
I
is
mean,
every
admittedly,
character.
because that happens in the future,
Yep.
but because in his mind it's not that character anymore.
Yep.
He wanted to play a fun speedster, silly willy character, and that was taken away from him. And I object to that.
Okay.
That being said,
Yep.
he's apparently okay with it because he's still playing.
Yep.
But it really struck me bad, especially when you didn't point out the rules loophole he could have used.
Okay.
Because especially since he didn't know the system. Now, in fairness, I should have as well, because I was sitting there and I didn't. I let it go by, so I'm mad at myself for not going. There is a mechanic here you can use. I should have, and I've let him down as a friend. But yeah, I'm sorry. That got a little. I did not mean it to be as vehement. I'm just vaguely passionate. I'm not angry as much as I'm just a passionate human being. Just to be clear.
No, I dig you, brother. We've been playing this game for a year. None of us are mad. It's all completely cool. I think that every character should be changed by the game, or else the game is dead on arrival. Metal is so much less frivolous because I've stopped talking the Valley Girl voice because that Valley Girl character, like, oh my God, doesn't really fit Capital City. So we've all had to adapt.
No, we do change. All of us do change. Like
Except me, I don't have to. Just kidding. I'm looking to
Bugs
adapt.
Bugs sliding more into a leadership role than he really ever wanted to be, because that's not what he's.
Dude, you're gonna be mayor of Capital City before you know it.
I hope so.
You're gonna like have a desk and responsibility and
Pants that go all the way to your ankles.
hands it up. Yeah, yeah. Arms up to yeah. Exactly. Pants that go all the
Let's
way.
not get crazy.
See, that's a game complication. That's a role playing complication.
No, but
Have we still addressed how do we transition?
I would
How do
like
we
to
still?
start game time by having lunch with Bug, and if we could keep, something from crashing on our heads immediately when I try to do some stuff or when we try and do some stuff. Because if stuff crashes in our head immediately, yeah, we
How
can't
about
do anything.
instead? How about instead of breakfast? It's coffee right now, like at an all night diner,
Nice.
because isn't that where we literally are in the
right,
timeline?
we could go for a late dinner at an all night diner kind of thing.
Okay.
Yep, yep, yep.
I want to keep walking until we've been to a place we've never been. I want to randomly pick a place we don't know, so the chance of surveillance is very near zero.
Okay.
I'm going to use the. I'm going to make sure the phone battery. Take out the phone batteries, and then I'm going to EMP. I'm going to use the basically EMP us to make sure there's no bugs on us, and we're not carrying any tracking gear stuck on us. So that I want to have a private conversation by going to a random public place and talk like in a crowd and make sure there's no bugs, no electronic listening gear on us. Sorry, no bug intended. If there's actual insects, I have to leave that to Andy.
Okay. Are you guys going to walk there?
Absolutely.
So.
I would recommend we start walking and then go alternative.
Okay. So then you find a nice place that suits your needs in Arlington, which is west of North Elmview, where. Oh no, not west. East of the college campus, because that's where Town and Campus Bookstore was near Capital City College.
Still is because we didn't wreck the place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Not far from Red Runner's apartment.
Sir?
I hate to do this because we are starting, but I did want to. I don't want to misrepresent. I might have overspoke Parker's dislike of how his character went, just because I have talked to him, and when I did talk to him, it was like right after it, and he was a little iffy about it. So he might be much better about it now, and I don't know, because I did say I talked to him, which is true, but I might have overstated how much he was reacting to it,
Well, I'm
because
glad
at
you
the
clarified
time it was a fresh wound.
that. Yep.
Just to
Andy,
be clear.
in all seriousness, it's not a problem. If the game goes a different direction, if the game falls apart, blah, 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 I'm having a great time. You're having
Well,
a great
no,
time.
I just want to make sure it's not a
No
problem
problems.
for him.
No, it's not a current problem. It's not. Just like I said, I did talk to him about it, and he was pretty upset about it at the moment. But that moment was months ago, so I don't want to speak for how he feels about it now.
Yes, sir.
All right, we go to this to our all night diner,
Okay.
and Meadows buying.
Absolutely.
And Parker and Warren went home.
Yep.
Because he had to. He's got school.
Oh, and that's actually part of the everything's piling on us. Every moment we're not looking for his dad is us being an asshole.
Sorry, what?
Every moment we're not looking for Warren's dad is us being an asshole. Like when you play Fallout 4, but you stop looking for Sean, like because you keep doing side missions. Same kind of thing every time, because
Mm-hmm. That's
Because
true.
the
We
pace
have
is
we
so
have
extreme.
that whole
right. And so
fiasco.
we can't move forward time, because if we say a week passed, so we spent a week not looking for Warren's father.
But
We're
where's
assholes.
yeah, but we also have a guy actively trying to beat people to death in the city, and someone's just burned down your house.
Right, but again, these are things that, because we can't move time, we
Yep.
can't advance time at all because of all these things.
Yeah.
It was just another point. I'm sorry. Moving on.
All right. Okay. So, listen. They just burned your house down, and you and I stood up for this. You and I stood in front of this. And I don't care about Bellboy Sharp because he's got SWAT teams, right? I don't care about him at all. But I don't care that they burned your house down because what are they going to do? Make you go get new clothes? What I do have a problem with is those 18 people that lived there, including that old Quechua speaking lady who's not going to be there for like another 2 weeks, that we've been doing an awful lot. And we broke a street gang and we're about to break a mob.
Mm-hmm.
But what's happening is I've got the government coming at my building and I had to flee, and I'm okay with that. I can get another building. I'm not okay with them tying people in a building because, man, what if we hadn't been able to get there to rip doors open and firefight? They would have killed 18 people to throw a message at us. I have two thoughts on what we should do from here, but I'm also a bit notorious about going too far. I think we either need to leave Capital City because we're making life worse for people, or we need the Russian mob to understand in no uncertain terms they play by our rules. And I don't think there's a third option there.
You want cream and sugar with that, honey?
Yeah.
Clink, clank, clink.
In
Oh, pink.
fairness,
Yep.
there's always a third option. We just haven't thought of it. But that's a philosophical point, not a point to be discussed here.
I love that Bug is a Buddhist.
It makes sense. It makes sense. The immovable object, right? In the irresistible force.
But honestly, moving on isn't a horrible idea, but all that does do is set up the exact same thing in someplace else. We're going to go there. I'm going to start punching
drug dealers, scumbags.
Yeah, in the face. You're going to start to try to do what you're going to try to do, and then we're kind of back to where we started.
Except one of them's going to be really, really, really tough.
I think I have a way to make the Russians play by my rules. But it comes right down to it. I've got to deal with some people I don't trust, some people I kind of trust. And there is a total of one person I trust who, when there's nothing in it for him, is going to save me. And that's you. And I don't trust another fucking soul in this city to do that. So if you're not okay with what we want to do, I not only won't do it, I can't, because there is no one I can trust.
And I would have to obviously hear more specifics on the plan, but you know what, this is a tad manipulative, but we could talk to Sharp. Again, we were actually looping back to what you were saying earlier. We could talk to Sharp and make it his problem. We'll tell him we are willing to pack up and leave, but then we take the good with the bad. Metal and I will move one town over. Well, probably further than that. The West Coast is nice.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like Santa Carla if it wasn't for all the damn vampires.
That's where Warren's dad lives, on the West Coast. San
I don't want to move next.
You
not anymore because he's missing.
Yeah, you don't want to move to San Caliente?
You're right. But if we make this Sharp's problem, he only cares about superhumans, which means he doesn't care about the drugs or the violence or the poverty.
But he does. See, here's the thing. Here's why it's manipulative. We actually make him make us stay.
You lost me.
We're the only superhumans. He's got Runner, and Runner is a great guy, but Runner is. I like Runner. Warren's a friend of mine. I won't say bad things about Warren, but he's not as powerful as I am.
He also lives in a four-color universe. He
Yeah,
has the
yeah.
moral complexity of a 1938 Superman comic, and he will never make a decision that actually changes the world.
Yeah,
He's young.
yep. Bisbee
That's
is
got,
well aware that Bug's got some tremendous powers, and getting him on the team is
and right now we do favors for him
yeah.
because, quite frankly, he's not asking us to do things that are morally ambiguous. He's asking us to help people who need help.
Well, he is the most ridiculously. He's a goddamn Nazi, and I hate Bisbee Sharp. I hate everything he stands for.
He is
He,
not a Nazi.
he
He
is
works for
trying
a,
to. He's trying to put people in jail for having powers. Do you know what your children are? He's taking power that is not his. He is trying to take the responsibility away from the people with power. We can absolutely help the poverty problem in this city, which no government agency's ever done because everything is so corrupt. But you know what? There is a third option for you. Bisbee Sharp told me himself that he would give you a pardon. There'd be a conversation, and you probably spent 15 minutes in jail. And if I left, you could absolutely get yourself a super suit and go work with Bisbee Sharp in the feds because you've never done anything to piss him off.
no, I couldn't. Because in 5, 15, 20 minutes, the cops will be dragging some poor Indian girl off, and I would have to stand up because the cops around here are corrupt. Now,
Mhm.
admittedly, there are other paths then, but you're not wrong that I could, but I couldn't. I would not play by their rules because I would do what I thought was right, regardless of the situation, and you can't do that as part of the government.
Would you like to hear my idea on how to make them play by our rules? It's a little complicated.
I have an idea. Mine's pretty simple, but go ahead. You get to go
Well,
first.
your idea, I think, works really well with mine. So I bought a street gang, and excuse me, I invested in a business, and I want to call Rosa, and I want to identify to Rosa four of the top five of the Russian gangsters, and I want to offer $1 to off them because that's who she wants to kill anyway. I want to I want to keep the CFO or whatever we're calling the guy with the books at the Russian mob and invite him to work for the chief operations officer, Jimmy Mack, who doesn't even know he works for me yet. So I want the RAF group to fold into it the Nubian gang. They get to do what they want as long as they don't break Rosa's rules. Anybody breaks Rosa's rules, they know that not only will I not protect them, I'm going to give Rosa their address. Anybody that's running human trafficking or that kind of shitty stuff, we step out of the way and we don't stop Rosa from ending them. But we then invite the Russian CFO or whatever the guy's name is after we shoot his top 3 or 4 coworkers and invite him to work for this company. I want 2 casinos. I want a nice low-level thing where they play some cards and people to get together in Jimmy Mac's neighborhood. People don't have to go in if they don't want to. It makes a lot of money. I'll bring in some Pai machines. And I want the new Russians to run a much nicer casino, knowing they're a wholly owned subsidiary of the corporation. And we get rich. And it's not like I want to get rich because I want a $25 million building with martini drones, although I do want this. We get rich because I want to hire people and I want to train people. And I want every poor person in the city to know they could show up on Tuesday morning to a job training program and they have a job as a welder or doing construction because I want to take these blighted areas and not burn them down. I really want to build stuff by eating 2 mobs, building 2 casinos, threatening the shit out of some people and making people realize they have to operate our way. But there is no question I can't do this myself. They will come to kill me. But I think right now, all of their superhumans are in a deep hole or are dead. And if we act right now, the old school Russians will understand this. We'll show them how they're going to make more profit, to your point, by fighting with us, by working with us, by saying, okay, great, you work for this corporation. There's your casino. There's your loan racketing. I don't even mind introducing a little finance operation because they can just, buy themselves some money stops or whatever they call that terrible garbage business that charges people an obscene interest rate, and they can do their loan sharking that way. I want the Russians and the Nubians to make money in a way that makes us money, but stops the violence and stops the human trafficking. We just have to let them know that they don't have an option to not play our way.
I don't disagree. Quite frankly, I think my goal of just showing up and smashing their things, I think you're trying to be too organized because I don't think they'll play that way. But I think we need to make them bleed before you can offer them that.
Yes.
And that being said, if we hit a couple of their places, I'm willing to smash places up. It will put me on Sharp's naughty list, but quite frankly, like I said, I am not morally bothered by what Sharp thinks of me.
So, Belgrade.
But I honestly think, quite frankly, that our biggest weapon right now for what you want to do is handing Rosa some addresses. So here's my plan. You're playing with some modifications. Does anybody know Rosa's name but us?
I've got her phone number. She's
No,
real
no.
hard
I
to
mean, is Rosa a threat that anybody knows about by name?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, neither am I.
Nope. Nope. I guess on the internet, what there would be, that she had done it, but um, a spate of high-level mob boss killings in the different, uh, some of the
Right.
different mobs, ethnic mobs in South Capital City.
No, and that part makes mine a little less, at least immediately. Okay, we'll pick like a Russian warehouse. That'd be my first choice. I smash anything that's not fucking nailed down. And I leave a note. So you'd have to find me the information to put in this note. I leave a note basically with a mob boss's name and address on it and say, Rosa has this information too. We tell that information to Rosa. Rosa does what Rosa does. And so we'll build up Rosa's. If we basically, Rosa is a weapon, and once they know that we're willing to tell Rosa things that they don't want Rosa to know. Now, Rosa will be pissy at us for using her, but she also won't not shoot mobsters.
I don't think she'll be
She
pissy at
will
all.
bitch and she will moan and she will threaten us, but she will not shoot mobsters.
She doesn't have any of those moral quandaries of the
Yeah,
Iron Age
Right,
capital
but
city.
she might object. She might object to us manipulating her.
I
But
suppose.
that being said, or using her name. But honestly, as long as she gets to kill mobsters, I don't think she'll care that much.
Look, if you've got a bus driver and you walk up to the bus driver and say, I want you to drive a bus that you were going to do anyway, and this is where I think you should drive it. What do you think? I'm about not being manipulative at all. I am telling you absolutely everything. I'm going to tell Rosa everything, including the fact that, yeah, I want her to shoot the mobsters I think most deserve to die. And she may want to shoot different mobsters. Who knows with Rosa? She's nuts. Rosa
Yeah,
is such a giant pot of anger. I want to get her a therapist. I would love to see Rosa in therapy.
to be honest, the problem with using Rosa is that she's capable of being a scalpel, but she's much rather be a wrecking ball. Having her kill a single person is great, but if we give her a mobster's address, everybody in that address is going to die.
We have to make sure that we line up the shot so there's only bad people in the lens.
She's straight up the female Punisher.
We have to.
Right. Well, no, because she's proven to be a lot less discriminatory than that. Punisher, for as stupid as it is, he's never shot an innocent person. That's ludicrous given the explosions and automatic fire, but canonically, he has never shot somebody who didn't literally deserve it. Rosa didn't care about the dancers in the club. She didn't care about anything other than killing the guy. And if other people died because of that, well, that seemed to be their problem. Rosa is not the female Punisher.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Rosa's a wrecking ball.
She's much worse.
She is much worse. Now, Punisher by himself is not a good concept, and the fact that he had like 5 books running in the 90s is ludicrous to me.
That's ridiculous. That was overkill. No.
But
he was a good foil for Daredevil.
Honestly, as a bad guy, I thought he was good because he was a bad guy who you could see their point. And that's the best bad guys, when you can empathize with what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Unless they're doing human trafficking, right?
Well, how would you empathize with that?
Mm-hmm.
He was a government agent trying to bring down Big Boss Man, and this was the cost of doing business to him. Side conversation. I apologize.
I honestly think we need to start this campaign of terror, more or less. The difference between a terrorist and a freedom fighter is the perspective.
Who wins the battle? So here's my thought, because I love your idea. The Russians need to bleed. Give me a minute. I'm going to find out who the top banana of the Russians' finance guy is, because I want to separate him out, because he's got to talk to someone in the old country. And I want them to be someone that seems reasoned. And then I want to get these top dogs together. And I want to send Rosa at them, hopefully at a board meeting of the bad guys. But you know how I want to get the bad guys to have a board meeting? Because they have to deal with you wrecking their shit.
Hey, if you can give me a couple of addresses right now. The night is young and you're so beautiful.
Mm-hmm. But why would Metal know some of these mobsters' addresses?
Yeah, because Metal is a smuggler who's been working for the Russians since the opening episode.
That's true. That doesn't mean you hang out at their house.
No, that's correct. But I do know who a lot of these players are, and I know the club because I want to go to that club very specifically. I got to see Jimmy Mack first, but I want to go to that that club of theirs where they do high profile business.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the warehouses where they receive things.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I can absolutely send Bug, or if not, we can detective it up, because I'm a pretty solid detective. I'm at like Nightwing level. Definitely not Batman level. To say, let's find these things, because I'm sure that there's government agencies in all of this that have done the research. I'm sure there's journalists who've done all this.
Yeah, a lot of mobsters are known to be mobsters before they can prove it, and we're a lot less concerned with jurisprudence than we are with them being legitimate bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, at the end of that nasty, nasty piece of work with Wotan, I brought that Russian mob boss back to his club, the club he owned. And there's a scumbag named Endgame in a $5,000 Armani suit that, rather than call an ambulance, shot him in the head. And I want to see Endgame, his very best possible option is life in prison and he's never getting out. And I would not mind him seeing the wrong way through a scope talking to Rosa.
Why don't you give me a couple of addresses? I'll go take care of that. And why don't you call Rosa? And I leave that to your. She might not care that we're using her as long as she gets names and addresses, because Rosa's a crazy person.
Because once we're done this, we need to go find. Oh my god, I'm going to blow up the name. Sorry, the game goes so much slower on our side than in the characters. Our reporter friend from the opening sequence who's turned into a villain.
Shamrock Bane.
We need to find Shamrock. We need to get her help. This is someone who's gone off the edge. We need to call Dr. Charles. I mean,
here's the thing. Maybe she hasn't. Okay, hear me out. You can disagree with us without being legitimately crazy. Now, admittedly, Rosa is crazy. She even agrees with us and is crazy. Those are two separate concepts. If Shamrock has, and she brings up points, and some of them, most of them are at least reasonable perspectives, and I don't want to call her as being. She might be. She might be doing this under duress. She might be brainwashed. I'm not saying she hasn't, but I don't want to be the guy saying, because you disagree with me, you're automatically crazy.
No, man, Voltaire. I may disagree with what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it. But man, she just looks like after we failed to save her, and we tried, and you got there as fast as you could get there, and we didn't save her. I think she's just traumatized. And she needs a shrink, man. I don't want to put her in jail. I want to get her help.
No, and she gets help. And quite frankly, this might be overselling it in a big picture kind of way. But we get her help. And if you're willing, I'm spending your money now, but welcome to be my friend. You can, as part of maybe convincing her to do it, maybe you can finance her crusade against us. I want voices who disagree with us, because that's how you keep us from being nut jobs. That's how you stop us from being Rosa.
So you're completely right. And if we talk to her and she's just had a change of heart and this is how she lives now, that's cool. But I don't think that's what's going on.
Well, we live in a comic book universe, so almost assuredly that's not what's going on. But sorry. Because of my trope awareness, that's not what's going on.
It can be any number of 5 things. She's a robot.
Yeah, dude.
It's an alien. Oh, she has a symbiote. There's a star on her face. All right. So these are where the smuggled goods tend to go in for the Russians. Let me write this down for you. I want to do a little Googling or detectiving or however you'd like to do that. And I want to find out who the top banana finance side, who handles the money for the Russians, who the guy is on their board that is the money guy, not the operations people.
I don't know how you'd find that.
I'm a detective. I don't know. I know how I would do it, but I'm very much a data guy personally, right? You take a look at the 10Ks because the Russians own a number of businesses. And there's going to be shell people that you look at in front there, people that's like, oh, yeah, it's the guy's girlfriend's mother that looks like owns the business.
Mm-hmm.
You then look at who owns the equity in the businesses, and you stand back from it and who the cars are registered to and where the addresses are. It's some work to it, but you can walk back through who owns the physical assets to who controls the people who own the physical assets. It's some detective work, but it's doable.
It takes time.
It does. I'm not going to manage it overnight.
No. Okay.
Yeah, what you're going to manage now is probably the phone call to Rosa.
Rosa's not first. I got another call I got to make. I know you're not fond of Jimmy Mack. but he'll play according to our rules. And one of the reasons he will is I would like you to have him understand at some point that the minute he decides he's not going to play straight with us, we're not going to protect him from the Shining Path or the South Americans or whoever it is. That he's expanding into what's essentially a lot of civil guardsmen and Russian activities, which means he's going to be attacked by the other gangs unless we make it so that it doesn't work that way. Because Jimmy's not someone I can trust in a large scale, but I can trust in a small scale. As long as he's making money and there's girls and booze and dope, I can trust him. As long as him and his boys can play domino in that shithole that they love and I don't get, I can trust them as long as they're making money and getting what they want. But I don't have to like him, and I can only trust him so far.
You do what you have to do. Keep in mind that so will I.
Yes.
No, and I realize that we're talking about this. I don't like that Jimmy Mack is someone we deal with, but the other side of that is Jimmy Mack ultimately is a symptom, not the disease.
I got one request before we head off to take care of things then.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody manages to shoot me in the back of the head or they show up with the baseball bats, because I'm always worried about the baseball bats. Listen, if you were me, you'd be worried about baseball bats too. Or attack
you and Green
dogs.
Lantern.
Yeah, or attack dogs. That if somebody manages to take me out of the game, I want you to make their fall as public and grotesque and something that's not going to fall off the front pages for a few days as you possibly can.
I can't promise grotesque, but I can promise public. I'm not big on, torture or the things that would make something appropriately grotesque for you. I'm not saying I won't end somebody, but if I end somebody, I'll actually end somebody like Rosa ends somebody. Rosa just kills them and moves to the next person to kill. Whatever Rosa's faults are, she's not sadistic, really, as much as efficient.
Yeah. So why don't you come over to Jimmy's club with me before we head off on the other thing? Because this could get dicey.
No, that's fine. I don't begrudge Jimmy. I honestly don't, because they're doing it for more like I said, symptom. They're a gang because that's how you're going to survive. And I get that, but there are also ways to do that without being jackasses.
Bug, one of my idols is one of the old rappers named Ice-T from the 90s. Because when he started making monies and pumping out gold albums, he started buying up body shops. And he sent his old crew of car thieves and these guys he knew from when he was in jail and all of this. And he has a chain of body shops in LA because he gave these guys another path than being car thieves. He set them up so they were making nice numbers, fixing auto damage. Jimmy can be a body shop. Jimmy can be convinced that he can live really well and have the wine, women, and song he wants, not by dragging women into prostitution, but he could be convinced that if he's the guy who runs the body shops, he's a big man, he's respected, he's loved, gets all the sangria he wants to drink.
I think you might be romanticizing Jimmy.
Just a
Then we kick him
fucking
out.
bit.
So
Jimmy was overjoyed when his boss died so he could take over. Quite frankly, I'm surprised Jimmy didn't axe his boss.
and Jimmy,
I'm saying Jimmy likes power.
yep.
Yeah, I'm looking for the universal modifier table as soon as you started talking about that.
Here's the thing,
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I've met Jimmy. The Jimmy I met and the Jimmy you're talking about ain't the same guy.
Yeah,
I got him out of prison. I dropped
he,
a pile of cash on him,
he loves his
and
liquor and hose.
which I've got no problem with Jimmy having his liquor and hose. That's the point, and that's how you sell. The history is full of gangsters who went legit because they realized, wait, I can have a house in the suburbs and I've become a realtor or a casino magnate, or I own a chain of liquor stores and I'm legit and I get to sleep at night.
History is also replete with ex-gangsters who hung people outside of windows to get them to sign contracts. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying you're overly romanticizing bad people will do bad shit regardless of the environment.
No, Bug, I'm saying we have great power and we have to use this responsibility that comes with our power.
I'm not saying don't give it a shot. I'm just saying I will bet everything I own versus everything you own right now. I have a very nice t-shirt collection. Uh, that in less than 6 months, I'm punching Billy Mack. I'm punching Jimmy Mack in the face for being a douchebag.
It's possible, but we're giving him a chance to be anything other than a douchebag. Because isn't that what we're about? Giving these people in this city a chance to be something other than what they were yesterday? Isn't that why we do this?
No, I'm not saying you. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying you're not right in this situation.
If it's not Jimmy, we'll go to the Laotians. If it's not the Laotians, we'll find the South Americans. Or maybe I'm going to have to go to Vladivostok and convince the Russians that capital city runs the way we say it runs.
We can't be anybody but the Nubians or something comparable because the Nubians are the only local group that we know of. The Laotians, the Russians, they're all actually branches of something outside of town that are reaching into our town. If we're going to support an organization, it's got to be a local one.
Or we take our show in the road. Or we fix capital city by finding out these other organizations and convincing them.
No, honestly, finding out other organizations, that's actually probably a better use of our time. Finding other organizations like Jimmy Max, maybe there is one that is more appropriate.
I want to give him a chance to fail, and if he fails because he's a drunken asshole, then he does.
Then you will hear a chorus of I told you so's.
Sure. Bug, I have to give people a chance to be better, or we're not doing this for people. We're just beating people up then. If we don't give people a chance to be better, we're not accomplishing anything.
Jimmy Mack has plenty of chances to be better and chooses not to. Jimmy Mack has plenty of opportunity to not hold up in his little empire and amass more money right now. Jimmy Mack could be helping his environment, and he's not. What he's doing is he's recruiting more kids to run more drugs, to cause more violence right now. Jimmy Mack could already be better, and he's not.
Yep. So maybe we need to go to the Shining Path or somebody else. And maybe I'm going to need to crush these guys.
No, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm with you that you give people an opportunity, but I feel you've already given him the opportunity, and all he's done is cash your checks and laugh his way to the bank.